I would also like to welcome the members of the Diplomatic Corps who are with us here today, and of course, the women joining us on this stage, the 2017 International Women of Courage. Thank you very much. The Secretary of State's Award for International Women of Courage is part of our celebration of Women's History Month and International Women's Day. The Secretary wanted to be here to present these awards himself. Regrettably, he is on his way to Ankara and Brussels, but he extends his heartfelt congratulations to these honorees. Since 2007, this award has honored women from around the world who have exhibited exceptional courage and leadership, who have drawn strength from adversity to help transform their societies. These women have mobilized public sentiment and their governments to expose and address injustice, speak against corruption, prevent violent extremism, and stand up for the rule of law and peace, often with little more than their voices and sheer determination. We are honored to recognize this incredible group. Shortly, you will hear each woman's story. They are an inspiring reminder of how individuals can make a difference. Taken together, they provide a powerful message of courage and leadership. As we celebrate the accomplishments of these women, we also provide them with a platform for telling their stories. After this celebration, they will participate in a State Department-sponsored exchange program to engage with American audiences around our country, contributing to the tradition of people-to-people diplomacy. The United States is proud to honor these leaders as part of our commitment to advance the status of women and girls around the world. I want to take a moment to thank my colleagues in the Secretary's Office of Global Women's Issues for the work they do to ensure that gender equality and women's empowerment are integrated into our foreign policy. I also want to recognize the Bureau of Educational and Cultural Affairs, whose programs, like the International Visitors Leadership Program on which these women are about to embark, are an important element of our diplomacy. The work of our colleagues here at the State Department embodies a commitment that comes from the very top of our administration. As Secretary Tillerson has said, there is study after study to confirm that when you empower women in these developing parts of the world, you change the future of the country because you change the cycle within the family. Women's empowerment is not just a moral imperative, it is a strategic investment in our collective security. In short, when women do better, countries do better. Women's security is a matter of international security. Without it, we all lose. President Trump and his administration are committed to expanding opportunities for women and girls domestically and across the globe. On February 13, President Trump and Canadian Prime Minister Trudeau launched the United States-Canada Council for Advancement of Women Entrepreneurs and Business Leaders. On February 28th, President Trump signed 2 bills into law. First, the Inspiring the Next Space Pioneers and Innovators and Explorers Act, and second, the Promoting Women in Entrepreneurship Act, both of which encourage women to pursue careers in engineering, science, and mathematics, and to provide support for women's entrepreneurial programs through the National Science Foundation. So it gives me great pleasure to introduce someone who has played a central role in that effort. As a philanthropist and a humanitarian, the First Lady has been a driving force behind the administration's efforts to promote the empowerment of women and children in our society. Mrs. Trump has been an honorary chairwoman for the Boys Club of New York for 5 consecutive years, and in 2005 was awarded the title of Goodwill Ambassador by the American Red Cross. She helped launch National Child Abuse Prevention Month in April 2008 and has been a champion for the American Heart Association. Her deep concern for issues affecting women and children continue as she is focused, as First Lady, on the challenge of cyberbullying among our youth. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming the First Lady of the United States, Mrs. Melania Trump.
Ambassador Shannon, dignitaries, esteemed guests, ladies and gentlemen. I'm deeply humbled to be here today to honor these 12 remarkable and inspirational women who have given so much for so many, regardless of the unimaginable threat to their own personal safety. Each one of these heroic women has an extraordinary story of courage which must inspire each of us to also achieve more than we had ever imagined possible. Their lives remind us of the boundless capacity of the human spirit when guided by moral clarity and desire to do good. These honorees on the stage with me have fought for their rights and for the rights of others. Each battled forces such as governments, the courts, gender bias, terrorism, war, and corruption, and were willing in each moment to face harsh penalties, including imprisonment and death. As they continue to preserve against unimaginable odds, these women are extraordinary examples of reaching within to find the courage that lies inside us all to change the world. While learning the stories of these 12 honorees, I would like to ask each of us to take this moment and try to imagine what it would be like to experience the trying obstacles, domestic abuse, gender bias violence, or governed impression that some of these women have faced. Let us try to envision ourselves in their place, struggling against unequivocal gender bias and discriminatory laws which serve to protect the perpetrators of unthinkable crimes while punishing their victims should they even dare to speak out. Ask yourself if you would have the fortitude of spirit, the courage of your convictions, and the enormous inner strength required to stand up and fight against such overwhelming odds. Amazingly, each of our honorees has courageously answered yes to those questions. For it is their strength and the strength of others like them which will unite a global battle against inhumanity. Together with the international community, the United States must send a clear message that we are watching. It is therefore our duty to continue to shine the light on each miraculous victory achieved by women, all capable of trying, truly leading the change to fight for those that cannot fight for themselves. These are the stories of human greatness that will continue to inspire and therefore must be told far and wide. These honorees who have fought on the front lines against injustice are true heroes. Their stories of an individual bravery remind us that there is always hope whenever the human spirit is brought to bear in the service of others, and that healing and personal empowerment are often born from such deeds. I believe that bravery is the ability to live one's life refusing to be discouraged, and instead choosing a life of purpose. Only when we do this are we are able to suppress what we previously believed to be possible. Each of these 12 women represents a life on enormous courage to save a child, to help a family, to make a neighborhood or school safe, or to boldly speak out against evil by refusing to back down, no matter the personal cost. To the young people here today, I ask you to allow the triumphs exemplified by these heroic women to inspire you in your own lives, and to remind yourself that you, too, are capable of greatness. I urge you to not be afraid to fail, as failure will never have the power to define you, as long as you learn from it. And realize that your first steps will always involve taking a leap of faith by believing in yourself while choosing to replace fear for hope. Let these brave women serve as daily inspiration, as it is now up to each of you to remain vigilant against injustice in all its many forms. As you go forward, remember their journeys as push ahead and strive to bring about a better community, a better country, and a better world in an ongoing fight for right over might. We must continue once again to shine the light on the horrendous atrocities taking place in neighborhoods around the corner and around the globe, where innocent families are crying out to live in safety. We must continue to fight injustice in all its forms, in whatever scale or shape it takes in our lives. Together, we must declare that the era of allowing their brutality against women and children is over, while affirming that the time for empowering women around the world is now. For wherever women are diminished, the entire world is diminished with them. However, wherever women are empowered, towns and villages, schools, economies are empowered, and together we are all made stronger with them. We must begin now to challenge old fears, fight long-held prejudices, and stand up against evil and injustice wherever it may be. As leaders of our shared global community, we must continue to work towards gender empowerment and respect for people from all backgrounds and ethnicities, remembering always that we are all ultimately members of one race, the human race. Each one of us is uniquely gifted. We must continually reaffirm our American values as we join with the international community to make our world safer through acts of collaborative and individual bravery. Thank you, honorees, for your courage. And thank you, Ambassador Shannon, for your support. God bless you, and God bless this great nation. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your inspiring words. And once again, thank you for honoring us with your presence here today. As the First Lady noted, courage takes many forms. This year, we're pleased to recognize 13 extraordinary women who are demonstrating courage in 4 pivotal areas: exposing and opposing gender-based violence, standing up to terrorists, combating corruption, promoting justice and human rights for all. 12 of them are here today. We will call each one here to the podium next to the First Lady to receive her award, and then have an opportunity to hear from some of the awardees. The first awardee is Sharmeen Akhter of Bangladesh. Sharmeen who recently turned 17, defied intense family pressure to marry a man decades older when she was just 15, despite there being a law in Bangladesh that prohibited early and forced marriage. Holding her ground and filing charges against her own family, Sharmeen gained the support of a newspaper journalist who helped to expose the case, and she won the right to continue her education. In standing up for her rights, she sets a precedent for other girls and their families to invest in their girls and envision a new future of opportunity for them. Sharmeen is being honored for her exceptional courage and perseverance to break the silence around early and forced marriage, and for being a role model for other girls who suffer needlessly from this harmful practice. Sharmeen. Our next awardee is Arlette Contreras Bautista of Peru, a survivor of abuse and of violence. Her attack by a well-connected city councilman was filmed and splashed across social media and television. Arlette turned her own personal tragedy into a national cause for advocacy. When her abuser was sentenced to a token one-year suspended sentence, Arlette spoke out and dedicated herself to working with other victims of violence, which eventually led to her launching a grassroots movement called Not One Woman Less, to raise awareness of gender-based violence. Arlette is being honored for her fearless activism on behalf of survivors of gender-based violence and for standing up to demand that the government and judiciary hold perpetrators to account. Thank you. Our next honoree is Maleboho Molefa from Botswana, a beautiful country. A former national basketball player who had her whole life ahead of her, Maleboho was brutally assaulted at the hand of an ex-boyfriend, escaped death, and now uses a wheelchair due to the injuries she endured. Maleboho has dedicated her life to teaching other girls to fight harmful gender stereotypes and domestic abuse. Maleboho is being honored for her tenacity, strength, and resilience to help other women and girls overcome the scourge of domestic violence, especially those who have become disabled as a result of such abuse. Our next honoree is Natalia Ponce de Leon from Colombia. In surviving a sulfuric acid attack by a stalker, Natalia underwent multiple surgeries to address burns to her face and body. She calls her recovery a rebirth, which led her to start her own foundation to help other acid attack survivors. As a result of her advocacy, the Colombian Congress passed the Natalia Ponce de Leon law in January 2016. Natalia is being honored for her relentless pursuit of justice against acid attacks and fighting for the promotion of a law to hold perpetrators to account. Natalia. Our next honoree is Janat Al-Ghazi from Iraq. After surviving domestic abuse, Janat's tribal family threatened her life. She now dedicates her life to protecting other women from violence. She has furthered the Organization of Women's Freedom in Iraq's cause of providing shelter, protection, training, and legal services for women, including those who have suffered brutality at the hands of ISIS. Janat is being offered for selflessly working on behalf of women survivors of abuse, courageously telling her story at great risk to her personal safety, and for providing shelter, education, and opportunities for women to reclaim their lives from the threat of violence and extremism. Janat. Our next honoree is Major Ashatu Eseka Usman of Niger. Soldier, mother, and United Nations peacekeeper, Major Usman of Niger exemplifies what it means for a woman to serve on the front lines of conflict and peace building. She has not only helped people deal with the trauma caused by conflict and the threat of violent extremism, including Boko Haram, she also understands the deep need for social services to pave the way to recovery for families affected by war and conflict. Major Usman is being honored for her steadfast devotion to healing those wounded by conflict and terrorism, for demanding social services for those left to suffer the consequences of war in order to prevent further violent extremism. Major Usman. Our next honoree is Veronica Simoigan from Papua New Guinea. Founder of the Family for Change Association and advocate for women and girls in Papua New Guinea, Veronica lives and works in a country where 2/3 of women and girls have been physically and sexually abused due to their gender. Despite facing death threats for her work with survivors, Veronica has devoted herself to helping others and to building relationships with local law enforcement and men and boys to overturn the cultural norms that deprive women and girls of their status and basic rights. Veronica is being honored for her relentless dedication to protecting victims of violence and vulnerable women and children, and for the pursuit of supportive partners in men and boys to make her country a violence-free society. Veronica. Our next honoree is Rebecca Kabugu of the Democratic Republic of Congo. Subjected to repression, arrests, and months in jail for her political activism and speaking her mind, Rebecca was, at age 22, dubbed one of the youngest prisoners of conscience in the world. Rebecca played a key role in a series of peaceful and nonviolent demonstrations demanding the Congolese government hold credible elections in 2016 as required by the Congolese Constitution. Upon her release in 2016, she emerged as a voice demanding democratic reform and social change. Rebecca is being honored for her visionary leadership, commitment to ushering in positive change through nonviolence, and for standing up to improve the lives of the disadvantaged in her country. Rebecca. Our next honoree is Sandra Ekniliagoda from Sri Lanka. When her husband, a well-known political cartoonist and journalist, disappeared in January 2010, Sundya resolved to seek the truth about his faith. She appeared in court more than 80 times in the face of obstructionist judges and authorities. Sundya has become a symbol for the many thousands of persons who have suffered the loss of disappeared relatives over the course of the 27-year civil war and earlier insurrections. Sundya is being honored for her relentless pursuit of the truth about those who have disappeared during conflict, holding the government accountable and bringing hope to others suffering a similar fate. Sundya. Our next honoree is Sadat Uzkan of Turkey. As an elementary school teacher, Sadat took the rare and bold step of exposing the sexual abuse of children by the principal of a small village school. Even after suffering a debilitating car accident that left her incapacitated for months, she refused to back down from her claims, despite pressure from the authorities and threats by other teachers. Sadat is being honored for her unwavering determination to uncover generations of sexual abuse of school children, particularly girls, and for her integrity in pursuing justice in the face of government pressure and apathy. Sadat. Our next honoree is Sister Caroline Tahan of Syria. Sister Caroline, a Roman Catholic nun working in Damascus, is being recognized for her outreach and service to the refugee community, internally displaced persons, and children. Putting her own life at risk, Sister Caroline has become a beacon of hope to both Muslims and Christians alike. In addition to running a nursery school and providing a safe environment for traumatized children, she also runs a tailoring workshop to provide job skills to vulnerable displaced women. Sister Caroline is being honored for her perseverance in serving those affected by the Syrian conflict and willingness to safeguard and empower the most vulnerable, including children, refugees, and displaced women. Sister Caroline. Our next honoree is Fadia Tabet of Yemen. A child protection officer and reporter on human rights violations in southern Yemen during the recent conflicts, Fadia risked her life to protect the region's children from al-Qaeda and Houthi militias. Her acts of courage dissuaded young boys from joining terror groups and militias. She exposed al-Qaeda's Yemeni branch, Ansar al-Sharia, as a recruiter of child soldiers, as well as documented human rights violations by other armed groups for the United Nations. Fadia is being honored for putting her own life at risk to protect children from being recruited by terrorist groups and militias, and her bravery in exposing the human rights violations and crimes committed by various armed groups. Fadia. Finally, we honor one woman who is not able to be here today, Nguyen Ngoc Nguyen of Vietnam. An outspoken critic of injustice and human rights violations, blogger and online activist, Nguyen has been held incommunicado at a detention center since October after exposing a toxic waste dump, one of the worst environmental disasters in Vietnam's history. While Nguyen cannot join her fellow women of courage at this ceremony, we admire her for refusing to be silenced and her defense of freedom of expression. Nguyen is being honored for her resoluteness to expose injustices and corruption and using her voice to stand up for the protection of people's rights and freedoms. Now, it is my pleasure and my honor to introduce two of our International Women of Courage who will give remarks on behalf of the group. May I bring to the podium Malebohobo Molefa of Botswana and Natalia Ponce de Leon of Colombia.
First Lady Melania Trump, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Today for me marks the pinnacle of every woman's success story. I am greatly honored to speak on behalf of the phenomenal awardees. Oftentimes, we work selflessly, we sacrifice so others can learn from us. We allow ourselves to be brave despite the ridicule, the judgments, and the societal pressures. This moment is for everyone who has supported me, most importantly, my family and my friends, and for the courageous women who have stopped at nothing to effect change. As a gender-based violence survivor and also a woman living with a disability, a result of a brutal attack, I take pride in knowing that I didn't lose my strength, and I continue to use my story to inspire other women and to learn from me and to partake in helping change the lives of others who may be going through a situation in their lives and not knowing how to exit. Allow me, please, to thank the organizers of this event for recognizing women who has made an impacting impression and continues to make a sterling contribution in the societies in helping shape the lives of other women and helping change the brutal perceptions of the world. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. I never would have dreamed I will have the honor to be speaking to you today, let alone I would have imagined that in order to be here today, I will first have to go through a nightmare and later a rebirth. Almost 3 years ago, I was at my mom's house and I received a call. Supposedly, my ex-boyfriend left me something for me at the door. I did not pay much attention, and when I went to take out the garbage, I was surprised by a man in a hood who attacked me with a liter of sulfuric acid. I felt my skin burning. My clothes torn apart by the chemical, and I started losing my sight. By the time I arrived at the hospital, 37% of my body was burned and my entire face. My doctors were not sure what percentage of my internal body was affected. I could be blind or have muscle trauma for a lifetime. It was a time of doubt and uncertainty. Today, I thank my doctor for being my guardian angel and for everything he's taught me. During my recovery, I understood that I had two options. The easy way, I could lie in bed, filling myself up with hate and anger. Or the hard way, standing strong and making all these strategies something greater. And so I did. 2 days ago, it was 3 years since the day of the attack. I ended a life I had planned, and I started a different one. I believe that after a long process, I can assure you that on March 27th of March, I died and I was reborn from the ashes. Amazingly, I started a better life, a life with a mission, a life dedicated to a bigger purpose. My attack was not the only one, and I started to contact with other victims of acid attacks. Talking to other victims was a relief and a pain at the same time. It was living again what happened to me. It required a lot of strength. I would not have accomplished what I did in 3 years without strength. I was a mental strength, the effort to understand that a pain and suffering was something transcendent. Courage is just a world without the strength to accomplish our goals, small or big. That is subjective. My biggest goal at the beginning was getting out of bed like everyone else. Today, my biggest goal is to create a burn unit for hospitals in Colombia. The most powerful tool we have is our mind and its strength. It gives us the opportunity to aim further and reach higher. None of our goals, mine, of yours, would have been accomplished without constancy. For me, constancy is the quality to remain invariable regardless of circumstances. It requires keeping yourself firm on mind along the way. Constancy kept me through 30 surgeries, 5 messages a day, no matter how painful they were, and the constant use of a mask to allow my skin to get back to where it was supposed to be. I am not a perfect human being. Honestly, none of us you are. But the wonderfulness about being a human being lies in the capacity for resilience and moving forward. In order to do that, it is important to leave the past behind. Forgiveness is what made me stand up and accept myself, accept my fate, and move forward. I forgive how others wronged me. I forgive how I wronged myself. That built me up and gave me conscience. forgiveness, and belief is the fuel to move forward. When you move forward, you know where you are heading, but you don't know where you will end at. I created a foundation to help victims of attacks like mine. Later, Colombia's government passed a law with tough sentences for acid attacks. Today, I work hard to give my country the capacity to respond to these attacks, help survivors, and create more burn units in Colombia. What will happen next? I don't know. But I trust that with straight constancy and forgiveness, we will end this horror. My message for you today is to take those 3 words, make them yours. Use them in any other you will be willing to use them. The other will not affect the product, because the outcome will be a human being that will use what they have to help others to make our society better. As a woman, I feel moved by all the survivors of these attacks. Also, I feel moved to see that as a woman, we have developed our sense of resilience to its maximum. In so many fields, women help their communities to improve their life standard. It is our task to honor what others have accomplished for us, to acknowledge the privileged position we are in. We live now in a world with rights for everyone because of others having cleared this path for us with their own sweats. We have nothing left than to clear the future path, to have the courage that no matter how tough situations are, we can reach more. This is not only my fight, it's everyone's fight, because tomorrow this could be your son's story, your daughter's story, or your own story. It is our task to keep the future bright. To all my fellows today here, awareness here today, I salute you for your resilience and your courage. Thank you so much.
Two incredible statements by two incredible women. There's really nothing left to say, except to thank all of you for your presence here today. We have a stand-up crowd. This shows how important this issue is here in Washington, here in the United States, and to this administration, and to the American people. So we're very grateful for your presence here today. Once again, we are grateful for the presence of the First Lady. Ma'am, again, you have honored us. Thank you. And to the 2017 International Women of Courage awardees, thank you all for what you have done and all that you will continue to do. Thank you for your bravery and your commitment. We honor you and we honor your work. We had an opportunity to take a photo with these incredible women, but we did not have an opportunity to take a photo with them holding their awards. So if you don't mind, if I could just ask you to hold tight for a moment as we gather them here and take a photograph with the First Lady. But again, thank you all very, very much for being here today.
Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes the 2017 International Women of Courage Awards. Please stay seated as the awardees exit the stage. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very, very much. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Congratulations. Keep up the great work, okay? Keep fighting.
We will continue,
all will.
yeah.
Yes. We all will.
Thank you.
Please stay seated as the awardees exit the stage. Thank you.